In our mid-30s, my husband and I decided to give our children a rural upbringing. We bought a small holding with a view to self-sufficiency, and this included 2 nanny goats and some laying hens from a poultry farm in Paarl. It was when we unloaded the hens from the crates in which they were transported to our property that I found, to my utter dismay, that they had been debeaked. I immediately phoned the SPCA to alert them to this shocking cruelty to hens. I mean, who would do such a thing? The grim reality, as I was to find out, is that farming today is a place of torment and misery, of deprivations and mutilations. A world of debeaking. So that if she pecks at the feathers or bare skin of her cage mates in the barren confines of a battery cage, she won't draw blood. Remember that by nature, a hen is designed to scratch and peck and forage for most of every day. A world of detowing, so that when she scrambles over her cage mates to get to the food in front, she doesn't tear out their feathers on their backs. A world of castration without anesthetic. Of tail docking. In the barren confines of their incarceration, the only thing that moves is the wiggling tail of the pig in front. So they mouth the tail, and that can cause damage. That's why pigs no longer have curly tails. They're cut off. Remember that by nature, a pig is designed to root around in the ground with its snout for most of every day. Farming today is a world of impossibly tight living spaces. This is the space allowance, 75% of an A4 sheet of paper that is allotted to every hen in a battery cage. We have 26 million hens in battery cages. It is a world of squalor. You may think that this is like a low-class farm or whatever. This is your conventional farm. The manure falls into a pit. It is only cleaned out once a year. It is a world of darkened sheds, the stench of ammonia, a world where animals exist in frustration and torment and then die, never having felt the warmth of the sun, nor seen a blade of grass, nor felt the soil beneath their feet. A world where the Animals Protection Act provides no protection. Out of sight and out of mind, we have excluded them from our moral and ethical consideration. We have diminished them to units of production and confined our focus to ways and means of increasing their yield and financial returns. We have swept their horrible suffering and their immense sentience under the carpet. Did you know that animal scientists have found that mice laugh, that hens have empathy, something we could learn, that cows have best friends? I'm not about to ask you all to learn to love lentils, but I am here to say that as much as farmed animals lose out on lives worth living, we too lose out in the process. In the case of these cattle, we lose out on the health benefits of grass-fed beef and the mountains of grain that go to make them fat faster in the feedlots could have been directed to easing the hunger and political unrest for people in Eritrea or Somalia or even right here in South Africa. Every possible excuse is given as to why we cannot turn the tide against our savage treatment of farmed animals. But the ostrich industry is proof that changes can be made if the incentive is great enough. In 1994, every possible excuse was given as to why ostriches had to be plucked naked before slaughter. Ripping out the feathers of ostriches before slaughter was standard practice to prevent soiling and spoiling of feathers for the multi-billion rand fashion industry. I sent these photographs to the press. They made the front pages of newspapers in the USA and the UK. Very intimidating registered letters arrived from the mighty ostrich industry's lawyers for me. And the unthinkable happened. Britain closed the door on further importation of ostrich meat because live plucking, and I'm quoting, was not acceptable to the UK's Charter on Animal Welfare. Within an amazingly short period of time, Compassion in World Farming was invited to the Klein Karoo Cooperasi to visit its new slaughter facilities in Oudtshoorn, and we were even presented with a table lamp made out of an ostrich egg. New and humane slaughter procedures had been introduced, which made live plucking unnecessary. The feather industry was thriving, trade deals were back on track, and today, if you want to eat humane, eat ostrich. They enjoy free-range lives. But why wait for disaster to hurt us before we do the right thing for all the farmed animals who live and die in our name? Last month, my son became very ill with tick bite fever. The bite was near his ankle, and it was terrifying to see the necrosis spread up his leg of blackened flesh. He survived thanks to our frontline antibiotic, tetracycline. But we should not take these life-saving drugs like tetracycline for granted. Just 10 days ago, I took this photo of Professor Goos. Professor Peter Goos is a food microbiologist at the University of the Western Cape, and he is trying to establish the origins of antibiotic resistance of antibiotic-resistant bacteria in the food chain. He's looking to chickens for the cause. Broiler chickens, the ones that we use for meat, are fed antibiotics routinely. It makes them grow faster. UWC has already established that tetracycline is in the breast meat of these chickens. When our frontline antibiotics like tetracycline lose their potency, we need to be very worried. We stand to lose our children. Sunlight sanitizes, yet there is not a ray of sunlight, figuratively or otherwise, in the darkened hellholes of the factory farms that feed us and our families. The public is not allowed into the factory farms, so we buy blind at the supermarkets. The products of animals who experienced violence, terror, and abuse every day of their miserable lives. We buy food that is all too often contaminated by hormones and antibiotics. The poor are presented with food that is teeming with bacteria, diseased feet. Like this one, are a staple food in our impoverished townships, sold to the poorest of the poor at 2 rand a foot. What you see here is ammonia burns from standing on filthy litter. Poor people don't know what these blackened wounds are. They may be fed cheaply, but it is at the cost of their health, and it is not me who's saying that. It's the School of Public Health at UWC who says that. The chicken to whom these kind of feet belong, and they're everywhere, if you buy a packet of chicken feet, at least half will be like this. They experienced agony every step they managed to take. The late anti-apartheid activist, editor, and author Brian Bunting said, "Appalling crimes are committed and are tolerated because, after all, they are not the same as us." We know now that not the same as us can never be a justification, can never be an excuse. In brutalizing animals, we brutalize ourselves. With sufficient incentive, we can turn the tide for farmed animals so that they can exercise their natural behaviors and enjoy life's basic gifts. In giving them lives worth living, we give ourselves dignity and humanity and provide the vital foundation upon which this ethics exchange can grow strong and bring about the kind of society we so much want to see.